If you want to support this content and see more of it, like and subscribe. If you hate this content and want to fight for weird predator parasites,
Get the fuck out of here!
Believe it or not, I still get asked why I hate dogs. Watching pretty much any video I've made would answer that question. But in this one, I am going to provide just about every possible reason I can think of to hate them. And if I think of more later, or if this one is too long, I may even do a follow-up. I will first list some of the main reasons why everyone should hate dogs, though probably not all of them. And after that, I will even share a few of my own personal experiences, although I have done this in the past as well. And here's the thing, there's always more that can be said. Just 2 days ago, I was walking through my apartment building when all of a sudden, I heard the very distinctive sound of a leash gremlin. This is a term I use to refer to aggressive dogs on a leash that, instead of minding their own fucking business, try to randomly attack you the instant they see or hear you. This is often smaller dogs for some reason, though not exclusively. There's usually a lot of barking as well, which these gremlins will direct at you even when you're clearly walking in a completely different direction, and easily 40 feet away or sometimes more. Going back to this latest incident, there were 2 of these pointless fecal factories, and not just one, they were both on one of those preposterous retractable leashes, the kind that's so long you could be walking a dog in the state of New Mexico, while the hellhound is harassing the hell out of someone in Mexico, as in the nation to our south.
Hi, and welcome to K-Nun Productions, giving you the straight dope on dogs.
On the list, well, these things kill people, and they do it a lot. One time in the entire history of dogs' existence would be one too many, but dogs injure, inconvenience, and also fatally attack people on a regular basis. Dog attacks are very underreported, but they're also far more common than people often are led to believe, just in general. If you own something that can randomly haul off and maul someone else, because it possesses instincts to do so, what you have is a psychotic killer, not a pet. People who defend these vile creatures will often claim that dog-related deaths are rare, but in reality, they're widely underreported, and they occur on a daily basis all across the world. Further, dog attacks in general are shockingly common. That they don't usually lead to someone's death is no justification. Dog owners who get attacked by their own crap hounds and who have to deal with their aggression, including having to train it out of them, they should know more than anyone just how ordinary it is for a dog to attack someone. Next, there is the social pressure to like dogs. This is something I've mentioned in the past as well. Dogs are the only thing people are actually expected to like, despite that thing being downright awful. Feeling like you should like dogs because of warped societal norms places a coercive and unpleasant level of social pressure on people if you actually have your survival instincts intact, and if you're disgusted by something that's very gross, which everything about dogs is gross, then you become something of a pariah. It's so backwards and completely fucked. Next, dogs are intrusive as hell. Lots of people hate how meddlesome and invasive dogs are. They are constantly vying for attention and doing ridiculous things like jumping on house guests or running up to random people on the street to beg for food or to sniff them or to display a totally unwarranted degree of overt hostility towards them. I don't know how dog people can stand to be around something that's so aggressively invasive and whose mere presence is obnoxious beyond belief and an instant showstopper. But dogs are notoriously ignorant of personal boundaries and completely lacking in any sort of decorum or self-restraint. Say what you will about cats, but for the most part, domestic felines at least keep to themselves. In fact, in this regard, they are the polar opposite of dogs. And so are many wild animals commonly found outdoors, even in towns and cities. What do the squirrels and birds in your yard do when you move close to them? Or the rabbits, lizards, and toads in your apartment complex? The same thing stray and loose cats do. They either run or hide, and may even continue minding their own business while calmly observing you if you're walking by and they feel safe. And what do loose dogs do even if you turn your back to them or run when you see them? Well, generally, they are very likely to intrude upon you in some way, and there's always the possibility of an attack. And if you run, they will definitely attack you. If you were to run away from a cat on the street, people would think you're mentally ill. That is because there's absolutely zero reason to run from a cat, and the cat definitely won't chase you. All of this applies to every other animal we regularly encounter where dogs are found. Only dogs need to be restrained in public for our safety, and for the safety of other animals too. Now, I am not suggesting to run when you see a dog, especially a loose one, because, as I just said, it will definitely give chase. I'm simply making a point about just what kind of violent bullies dogs are. They go after those who flee from them, and they most often go after anything or anyone with a vulnerability, and which seems like it will make an easy prey. Except that dogs don't usually chase people or animals because they are hungry or because they desire to eat them. They just enjoy attacking and killing other living things, and they possess prey drives, because that is how they are wired. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it? Dogs are hyperactive, noisy, invasive, and destructive. They have absolutely no concept of personal space, which goes along with their social intrusiveness and the social awkwardness aspect. They generally show no caution, respect, or restraint when encountering a person, and they can't seem to tell when people want nothing to do with them. In other words, even when they aren't being dangerous and biting or killing people, they are annoying as hell. Dogs create noise pollution, and they piss and shit in various public locations, including parks, and they also do this in people's lawns, gardens, even their backyards. Dogs are insufferable. They embody literally every trait that people find bothersome, infuriating, repulsive, or hazardous. Then there is barking. This is a completely pointless and unnecessary noise, and no other animal on Earth barks the way dogs do. This is one of many design flaws dogs have. I've already written a great deal on just how terrible barking is, so I won't go into it in too much detail here, although I easily could. Barking truly is awful, not just in terms of how unappealing it sounds to the ear, but also in terms of the harm it causes. Of course, this is another one of the many traits that make dogs obnoxious. However, it is so odious that it deserves its own listing. Barking alone would be more than enough cause to ban dogs entirely, and all the sounds dogs produce are atrocious as well.
They take one look at Dog Nutters and say, "There's no intelligent life."
Then there is this, dog nutters themselves. The fact that these people exist is very alarming and incredibly disturbing. Dog defenders often call us crazy simply for disliking dogs, but dog owners are easily the craziest pet owners ever. Now, I'm not saying all of them are stark raving lunatic nutters, and there's definitely levels to this. But if you want to see extreme and delusional, look no further than present-day dog ownership. I know there will be some who are going to be tempted to tell me that it is people behaving this way, and that dogs have little or nothing to do with it. But I beg to differ. There is clearly something about dogs in particular which results in the unique brand of lunacy of the kind I have compiled many times in the past, and which most of us in this space are all too familiar with. Frankly, The level of obsession some people have with these creatures is creepy, cringe, crazy, and confounding. I have long maintained that anything which causes people to behave the way dogs seem to make people behave, well, it should not be present in society. Just look at all the dogs dressed up in human clothes, to include baby outfits. Look at dogs in cribs, cringe terms like dog parent, dogs fed ice cream and other human food. Look at how blind many dog people are to reality, and the way they deny the most basic facts about dogs, such as how dangerous they are. Look at how every park is basically a dog park now. Look at indoor dogs, no-kill shelters, nutters being overly affectionate with these disgusting creatures, and all the stupid bumper stickers and t-shirts. Listen to the way these nutters talk to their dogs, as though they were infants capable of understanding any human language. Look at the humanization and infantilization of dogs. Consider the constellation of contradictions within dog culture. In fact, I made an entire demystifying the dog episode on this, and it still doesn't quite cover it all. Dogs are overhyped, and their downsides are understated. They're oversold, and often overweight as well, because they are so fucking gluttonous. Despite all their glaring flaws, dog owners and sympathizers continue to exalt them, or project them as merely harmless companion animals. There's also the fact that a significant percentage of dog nutters are clearly into these nasty beasts on a sexual level. Dog nutters also value human life very little, if at all. Meanwhile, they love and laud these child killers and project them as virtuous heroes capable of things no other animal is capable of. They're completely irrational, unbelievably disgusting, completely devoid of personal boundaries, beyond antisocial, and just as violent and entitled as their dogs. And honestly, I could go on, but suffice it to say, these people are fucking terrible.
Breaking news.
And we start with a heartbreaking story in Volusia County. An 8-year-old boy is dead after being attacked by a pair of dogs this afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm John Brown.
And I'm Luann Srow. A vicious attack happened in DeLand in a neighborhood near Airport Road and Arabasque Drive. That's where we find Fox 35.
Then, there is this as well. This covers almost all of it. It's a post from Quora, which I have shared a couple times before.
There are two sides to every situation. I do not like dogs. Almost everything about dogs goes against my comfort and happiness. Dogs are noisy. Their barking startles me and hurts my ears. And by the way, if anything shouts threats at me the way a dog does, I do not want that creature, human or animal, anywhere near me. Your dog may not bite, but I should not have to concern myself with that possibility at all. Dogs are unhygienic. Dogs smell musty more often than they don't. The smell from a dog permeates onto anything porous in their home. Dog owners and their houses often share this dog smell. Since dogs don't like the smell of shampoo, they often make a conscious effort to regain this musty smell back ASAP after a bath. Dogs are one of the few pets that cannot keep itself clean. Humans need to clean the feces from dog fur, or it will build up and cause infections. Dogs treat the world like one big toilet. They treat animal waste like a gourmet meal. What they don't eat, they collect in their coarse, bristly coats. If not bathed quickly enough, those gourmet leftovers end up on the nearest carpet. Dogs insist on touching everyone. They get to the front door long before their owners can peel themselves from the living room sofa. Noses go straight for crotches. Dirty paws and pointy nails go straight for thin, light-colored clothing. Slobber goes everywhere. Even walking down the sidewalk, dogs pull at their leashes to touch strangers. Not everyone wants a canine pat-down. Not everyone has the balance or strength to even handle a 40 to 100-pound animal leaping on them. Some people are allergic to dogs. I am one of those people. Even cats are not safe from dog fascination. Dogs do not respect the personal space of cats, or the many warnings given to back off. To them, a cat is something for them to touch, and the wishes of the cat do not matter. Dogs are violent. They chew on everything they can get their teeth on. Toys only hold them off until they are torn to shreds, or just not as appealing as a sock, shoe, stuffed animal, or sofa. Dogs are predatory animals. Given the chance, they will kill most creatures smaller than themselves. Squeaky toys are so popular, because to a dog, that is the sound of a tiny animal being killed. Few dog owners are willing or able to train out aggressive behavior in their dogs. Some do not even recognize it as aggression. It's all playful, cute, and protective until the dog actually hurts someone. Dogs are too big a responsibility for many of the people who own them. Every park has dog poo on the ground that nobody picked up. Every neighborhood has a dog that barks at its own shadow. Every community has had to mourn the loss of an innocent person attacked by a total sweetheart of a dog, with an owner still in denial that the dog could ever be the problem. After a dog attack, many people mourn the euthanized dog more than the victim. Dog owners often force their dogs into spaces that dogs should not be allowed. Dogs in apartment buildings, dogs in stores, dogs in offices, dogs in hospitals, dogs in restaurants, dogs on buses, dogs on trains, dogs on planes. Too many dog owners do not care if their dog is a nuisance, a health code violation, or a danger to someone with allergies. As long as they are happy, everyone else must accept the situation. Service dogs are the only exception to the problem, as long as they are not in an enclosed space, buses, trains, or planes, with allergic people. Those with allergies should get priority as they are not bringing potential hazards into the space. Dogs are put on a pedestal above people just for being dogs. Many dog people believe that only a bad person would dislike dogs. They think everyone finds dogs cute. They say dogs might just be better than people, as if they would love a human being who shouted threats at them and all passers-by from the neighbor's house every day. A human being who whined and screamed when you left for work, then tore up your clothes, stuffed animals, and furniture while you were away. A human who never bathed unless forced to bathe, never brushes their teeth, and eats literal feces. A human who touches everyone all over until physically dragged away. A human who steals food off your plate when you aren't looking. A human who may or may not use children as chew toys without warning. A human who never gains the ability to reason, manage emotions, or improve behavior beyond the level of a toddler. Someone who loves dogs may be so focused on the positive that they can accept or overlook the negatives that come with a dog. As someone who does not like dogs, it's hard not to feel deeply concerned by the entitled, harmful behavior of dogs and their owners, forcing their lifestyle choices on non-consenting people around them.
Dogs are dumb and deranged, hyperactive and off track. They'll walk right beside a train, what a wreck. Needy, neurotic with no brain, no one will see what they lack. They drain your bank and it's your patience they test. Dogs are dumb and deranged, hyperactive and off track. They'll walk right beside a train, what a wreck.
Why such personal hatred for dogs? Bad experiences as a kid.
Listen here, you fuckknuckle. I had a dog as a child. I was never bitten by a dog when I was young, if that's what you're expecting me to say. The short answer is that I feel dog ownership should fall out of favor completely at some point, because it's archaic and harmful, and essentially a scam to enrich companies and corporations at the expense of the general public. And again, I have made multiple previous videos thoroughly outlining reasons that would easily answer such questions. Yes, I really do hate dogs. And no, this is not satire. I don't think you understand what satire means. What exactly would my videos be satirical of? I wasn't born a dog hater. I was made into one, and it wasn't even something that happened to me from one day to the next. It was a fairly gradual, albeit relatively quick, process. However, it didn't take very long after experiencing a ton of dog-related problems within a relatively short span of time. No one randomly wakes up deciding to hate dogs on a whim. I don't have some random or impossible to understand animosity towards dogs or any living creature. I hate dogs because they have made my life a living hell, and because I can clearly see that they have this exact same effect on shitloads of people. That's the long and the short of it.
But time and again I get asked why I hate dogs, and sometimes even when I give enough reasons, or when I provide all the context needed for someone to understand why, I am still asked this question, or I am still met with opposition. The purpose of this is to set the record straight for the final time. But if you want the abridged version, I hate dogs because they are and continue to be a growing menace that's largely unrecognized across the world. Although this might be more true in many developed countries and developing nutter countries such as India, where there's increasing support for dogs extending into its legal system in many parts, despite what a plague dogs are there. I hate dogs because there is nothing special or likable about them, yet people just about everywhere seem to be obsessed with them. I hate dogs because their behavior is incredibly off-putting. I hate dogs because of the way they mindlessly bark and threaten anyone who comes within 30 meters of them, particularly when they are behind a fenced-in area and when they are in vehicles driving past. I hate dogs because of their odor and intrusiveness, and because of the way they attack without provocation on a daily basis all across the world. I hate dogs because they are the source of so many otherwise completely avoidable social and environmental problems. I hate them because they are polluting sidewalks and green spaces everywhere, and because they are invading parks and various indoor spaces as well. I hate them because they reduce quality of life in any neighborhood infested with them to complete and utter dog shit, literally and figuratively. Any park that effectively becomes a dog park is likewise reduced to a complete shambles. I also hate them because of the effect they seem to have on those who gravitate towards them, and because despite my lack of interest in them, they were always pushed onto me anyway, by people infatuated with them who can't pick up on social cues. I hate them because now I have grown to despise them, and they are still shoved in my face by society as a whole, social media, films and shows, and all the rest of it. I hate them because their presence means I must avoid certain places, which often includes the homes of family members. I hate them because several of them have either bitten me without provocation or have attempted to. And I hate them because they are the sole reason I walk around with self-defense tools. I hate them because a couple have tried to kill me, and because dozens and dozens of them all throughout my life have barked incessantly and aggressively, either in an area I passed through or directly at me, simply for walking by them. I hate them because they are mindlessly aggressive, aberrant and dysfunctional mutants without a single redeeming quality. Is that enough reasons? And as I will briefly outline before the original video plays, no, I was not bitten by a dog as a child. However, I can't imagine why people would view this as a reason to dismiss my distrust and dislike, or outright hatred, of dogs, as this would be a perfectly good reason to reject their presence in society. And a final note. The incidents described are not the only negative interactions I've had with dogs. I left quite a bit out of it. And lastly, I did actually forget to mention in that video that I did personally know someone who has been attacked by someone's pit bull some years ago. Every single one of the attacks or attempted attacks by dogs which I have experienced was completely unprovoked. Most were completely unexpected as well. It was not any singular instance that led me to the conclusion that dogs are trash, and this is something I will maintain until my dying breath. But rather, it was a constellation of experiences highlighted by the one which could well have resulted in my death, in tandem with witnessing a persistent expansion of dog ownership as a general trend. Basically, these vile vermin are everywhere, and have been for the past several years at least. One of them nearly killed me just as soon as it would have drawn breath or buried a bone. Aggression is second nature to these critters. Charging me on my bicycle was a casual and very random act of recklessness for the worthless mutt that nearly ended my life. For those of you who might have missed it, I've shared this account before, but a stray dog nearly killed me while I was riding my bicycle once, because it tried to bite onto my leg while I was pedaling very fast. As a result, I had to swerve into a busy street to get away from it, which thankfully worked. I managed to get away from the dog, and it stopped chasing after me. However, I almost got hit by a car in the process, and that could have caused a massive car pileup, all because of a nasty, deranged, domesticated predator's presence. This is what made me instantly start hating dogs. But I still didn't quite adopt all the views I have today, not just yet. For that, it took seeing how many more dogs are just everywhere, and a couple more bad experiences with dogs. And keep in mind, I'd already had several horrible dog-related experiences prior to those throughout my life. And this is the species humanity seems to worship. It doesn't add up. But, thinking back on it, there are things about dogs I have always hated, even back when I had a much more favorable view of them as a whole. One thing I always hated is the way dogs randomly bark at you as you walk by a yard they happen to be in. This is something I've experienced on and off for my entire life. It's what these brain-dead creatures do. All that's required is for you to be doing something as ordinary and innocuous as walking to or from school or work, or perhaps bicycling to a friend's house in your youth. As much as I always abhorred this experience whenever I encountered it, for a long time I simply accepted it, along with the possibility of a dog attack, as an inevitable part of life. Although it should be noted that this was a grudging acceptance. I complained about it to anyone who would listen. The problem was, nobody really did. People seem to view dog-originated aggression and violence, as well as dog harassment of humans, as not much different from getting rain or snow from time to time. But dog attacks are not a meteorological phenomenon, and they are not the only problem associated with the presence of dogs in extant society. Dog urine, likewise, does not fall from the sky. Dog droppings do not grow on trees. Dog dander does not fall from branches like leaves in autumn, and allergies due to the presence of dogs are not a fact of life the way seasonal allergies are. The noxious odor that permeates the interior of dog owners' homes and vehicles is not due to simple exposure to the outside air, as if a draft of unknown origin were the source. And finally, dog barking is not a selection from nature's many soundtracks, such as a chorus of bullfrogs or the distant call of birds. I never liked being in a dog owner's home. Their foul odor and unchecked intrusiveness was enough to ensure that. Dogs are the only pet animal that needs to be restrained in public for our safety. In fact, dogs are the only pet animal that's frequently encountered outdoors. Dogs are the only animal, period, whose disturbing of the peace seems to be sanctioned by most of the general public. It is the only animal that is disturbing the peace, particularly in such a consistent, round-the-clock manner. It is accepted as normal, despite the fact that it is a very aberrant behavior in many regards, which is to say it is abnormal among animals as a whole, with dogs being the sole exception. And also it is unacceptable, or at least it should be. I am referring, of course, to barking and the general intrusiveness of dogs, which, in addition to their foul odor and off appearance, is cause enough to avoid them. The only other pet animal that's sometimes encountered regularly outdoors is the domestic cat. But cats are not responsible for murder and mayhem, like dogs are. The typical response from an outdoor cat upon detecting an approaching person is to deliberately avoid them. Dogs have the opposite reaction to the presence of humans. It is this intrusiveness that gives dogs the awful reputation they have among those of us in the dog-averse crowd. And quite frankly, it is not a matter of mystery. After all, dogs are the source of much needless misery. Dogs are not exactly known for their discretion, or their politeness, or their strong sense of personal boundaries with regard to other living creatures. It's quite the opposite, actually. In light of all of that and more, it is rather surprising to encounter so many new people, almost on a daily basis, who stumble across this material and ask the stupid question, how could you hate dogs? Dog apologists occasionally try to bring up how much good dogs are supposedly doing, in order to justify the carnage and chaos they surely know dogs cause. Of course, dogs don't actually do anything in the way of good, and the only benefit they may have, albeit at a huge price to everyone, is to bring some subjective level of emotional fulfillment to some of their owners. I must say some, because of course it is fairly well established that even many dog owners themselves do not enjoy having a dog around and are also adversely impacted by the presence of dogs, just as we all are. Even if they feel it is not their own dog bothering them or causing them strife, they cannot deny that other dogs do have this effect on them. The presence of dogs in society is a curse upon humanity, but dogs themselves are subject to so many infirmities and character flaws that it is as though dogs themselves are cursed. It is as if they are at once a curse and accursed. If your flatmate was as unstable as a dog, you would move out, even if it meant being homeless. Yet people voluntarily invite these awful entities into their own homes. It is strange how many assertions there are about this one canine species, being loyal, loving, laborious, even lenient. But in actuality, very few, if any, creatures in the animal kingdom, even of the domestic variety, are as disloyal, disreputable, dangerous and dysfunctional as the household dog and the common street dog, that is to say, Canis lupus familiaris.